Many years ago, in the beautiful city of Ugwoba, there lived a man named Oku. Oku was a successful businessman, and he was married to his beautiful wife named Nkasi, and they were blessed with their only son named Ikenna, which they had 8 years after their wedding. From the moment Ikenna was born, his parents adored him more than anything, especially his father. Mr. Oku and his wife Nkasi adored Ikenna. They pampered him and provided him with everything that he needed. Mr. Oku would always refer to Ikenna as my only son and would also call him Ikem, my strength, a title he carried with pride. Ikenna was a spoilt and over-pampered child. While other children were expected to do chores and learn responsibility from a young age, Ikenna never had to do any of that. His mother ensured he was always well taken of by their helps. Nkasi would run after Ikenna to make sure he was never hungry, that he never had to walk a long distance, and always wore clean clothes. Mr. Oku, though a very hardworking man, wanted the best for his son Ikenna. He made sure Ikenna grew without struggling. But what he never knew was that Ikenna was not learning the important lessons of life. Each time Ikenna made a mistake, his parents would quickly step in for him, helping him to fix them. When he got into trouble in school, they made sure they pleaded with the teachers, sheltering him from the natural consequences of his actions. This created a bubble around Ikenna where he believed that the world would always take care of him, just as his parents did. However, his friends at school also noticed that while they were learning to be independent, joining in various games in school, putting effort to do their homeworks by themselves, Ikenna would always boast how his parents helped him with his home activity from school, which made him have good grades. Ikenna always had someone do things for him. His mother took care of everything for him. All Ikenna did daily was just brush his teeth and have his bath. His clothes, shoes, and food were all arranged for him before school and whenever he returned from school. As Ikenna grew older, his dependence on his parents, especially his mother, only deepened. Little did Ikenna know this would have a huge impact on his future and his relationships, especially when it came the time to take responsibility for himself. So when Ikenna entered his teenage years, things didn't change much. He struggled to keep friends, almost became a bully, as he always never wanted a no for an answer. Ikenna continued to live in the protective bubble that his parents had created for him, while his friends were learning how to cook, clean, and make decisions on their own. Ikenna would laugh at them and tease them whenever he went to see them. He wondered why, as boys, they did all the cooking, did laundry, and kept their home and environment clean. Teased them and would say to them ignorantly, "To people allow your sisters do the cooking and the chores in the house. Are you not a man? You see, my mom never allowed me do any chores. She believes I'm born to be great, and as a man, my wife would help me do all these things," Enna said proudly. But his friend Tochukwu reminded him that all these responsibilities, like doing chores, cooking, were survival skills which both a male and a female need to survive in life. Ikenna thought he didn't need to do or learn any of these chores. His parents have always provided him with all he needed. Whilst growing up, Ikenna had no interest in learning to do things for himself. Why should I when my mother does it all for me? He thought. Whenever he faced a challenge, his parents would swoop in to save the day for him. They made all the important decisions, from what clothes he wore to the friends he hung out with. Even when he was late on his school assignments, Nkasi would speak to the teachers on his behalf and smooth things over for him. No one ever scolded Ikenna for his mistakes, and he never faced any real consequences. In his mind, there was no need to take responsibility. His mother would always be there to handle it. Ikenna never noticed how much his dependency on his parents was setting him up for future struggles. He has always thought that his parents would always be there for him, protecting him from the harshness of the world, and that was all that mattered. So when Ikenna turned 18 and was done with his secondary school education, Ikenna had grown into a young man, but he still didn't know how to take care of himself. He could not wash his clothes, make his bed, or tidy his bedroom. His parents didn't see it needful that Ikenna learned to do all those things by himself, as they believed that as a man, once he gets married, his wife was going to help him do all those things. So Ikenna's friends were applying for universities outside the state. Ikenna, knowing his inadequacies, that he could not survive outside his home, complained to his parents. One afternoon, he sat on the sofa, looking downcast and worried. His father, who just returned from his business, was surprised to meet Ikenna with such a sad look on his face. So, son, what troubles you? Mr. Oku asked. Father, I'm just disturbed. It's about my university education. I don't like the state and the government universities. My friends have shared a lot about their ordeal and sufferings in their school. It's okay, Kenna. You say you would prefer to attend a private university. Well, you just got it. You will attend a private university, and if possible, you would be going for lectures from the house. Mr. Uku replied in a calm and firm tone. Ikenna's parents did not object, as they saw reasons with Ikenna. They did not want any stress for their only child. They have the money, and they would not want him to go through such harshness. While in the university, Ikenna flensured with his father's cars. He flirted with many girls in school, was indeed a socialite. While his peers were all making plans for the future, studying and working hard to graduate with outstanding grades, Ikenna was busy having fun in school. He was not preparing for life outside their home. So after graduation, Ikenna returned home, not knowing how to face life, when his friends called him on the phone, sharing with him how they have been able to secure good jobs because they graduated with good grades. Ikenna, who narrowly escaped to stay back and repeat another year, if not for his father's connections, pestered his mother. Mom, I need a good job. Please, you have to help me talk to dad. Let him use his connections to find me a job, Mom, he would say. You know it's not easy out there. And you know I don't even know how to start searching for a job. Already my grade is nothing to write home about. However, his parents, eager to make Ikenna happy, called their friends and arranged job interviews for him. But even with that, Ikenna still never followed through with any of them, as he had nothing to offer to his employers. In one occasion, he was offered a job as a sales rep in one of his father's friend's company, but was later kicked out of the company as he lacked competence and diligence. Ikenna was lazy. He was not ready for any stress. This saddened his parents' hearts. They had this deep pain and fear for their son. Ikenna never understood the value of hard work or the need to be self-sufficient, as he always ran to his parents for solution. Ikenna never knew that he needed to try harder and that life wouldn't always be easy. The consequences of not learning these lessons were not yet clear to him, but as time passed, he began to feel the weight of them. Little did he know his inability to take initiative would soon affect not just his own future, but his marriage as well. As months passed, after Ikenna's graduation from the university, he still could not keep a job, which his parents got for him with their connection. Ikenna sat all day at home, either sleeping or playing video games. He was at home one afternoon when his phone rang, and it was his mother. Her voice was faint and weak. Please, Ikenna, meet me at the hospital now, Mami Ikenna said in a weak and urgent tone. Before now, Ikenna's dad had traveled for a business meeting outside the town, and Mama Ikenna took ill few days after he traveled. Though she had been on some medications, but the sickness grew worse. So that afternoon, she quickly went to the hospital. When she arrived at her boutique, Mama Ikenna had to spend 3 days at the hospital. And for the first time, Ikenna was saddled with the responsibility of taking care of his mother and her business. This Ikenna did with lots of struggle. He looked so exhausted. Whenever he came to see his mother at the hospital, he complained almost about everything. And for the first time, Mami Ikenna saw her son struggle. This pierced her heart. Her heart was heavy, that her only son was just a boy and not a man yet. Ikenna could hardly take any decision without asking for her approval or opinion, even in her sick bed. It then dawned on her that Ikenna needed urgent help. So a few days later, Mami Ikenna was discharged from the hospital. After her husband's return from his business trip, Mami Ikenna had a deep conversation with her husband. My husband, we are finished. If we don't do something now, we are doomed. She said sadly, you need to see Ikenna, our son. These few days I was at the hospital. You know you were out of town, and I was admitted at the hospital. That was when I saw the helplessness of our son. He could not do anything by himself. Without running helter skelter and depending on people for one thing or the other. I almost starved at the hospital, thanks to my friend, Nkechi, who I pleaded with to send her daughter Soma. Nkechi, my friend, had traveled to see her mother in the village, who has been ill for some time now. Papi Ikenna, if not for Soma, I don't know how I would have survived those 3 days at the hospital. She had to bring me food and other basic needs that I needed at the hospital. My husband, I think what our son needs is what will make him become responsible. And I will suggest we get him a wife, a good and hardworking woman. You see, these few days that I spent with Soma at the hospital, I saw her strength and resilience. And I think she is the perfect wife for our son. She is very intelligent, hardworking, and well raised by my friend. Not all those girls that flock themselves around Ikenna. Those ones that are around him just because of the little money he gives them, when they have no value to offer. I know Soma is going to help our son learn responsibility. My dear, say no more. I feel so ashamed of myself whenever I visit my friends whose children are the same age with our son. You need to see how responsible they are, how they run their father's business, standing for their father when he's out of town. For me, I have to be at every meeting, whether I'm sick or that I needed to have rest. I am always on my feet because Ikenna knows nothing about my business and he's not interested. All he wants is a white collar job, and even the one we got for him, he's unable to keep it. So I think your suggestion is not out of place. I will also suggest that you talk to Ikenna and your friend Nkechi to see reasons with you. And I just pray Soma and Ikenna, our son, falls in love with each other so it won't look as if we are coercing them to be together. And as for the wedding and everything they need to have a comfortable life, we would finance it, Mr. Oku said reassuringly. So Soma and Ikenna's meeting were approved by their both families. Soma during their dates admired Ikenna's quiet and gentle nature, but she also noticed something strange about him. He seemed to avoid taking responsibility for anything. At first, she thought it was just a phase, but soon it became clear that it wasn't. When they started courting, Soma would always be the one to make decisions for them. Let's go there, she would suggest. Let's buy this, she would say. And Ikenna would happily agree without contributing anything. He just approved everything she said. He never questioned her choices. Soma didn't mind at first. She loved Ikenna, and Ikenna also loved her so much, and she believed that maybe he would change with time when they got married. However, after a few months of courting, Ikenna proposed to Soma and they got married in a lavish wedding sponsored by Ikenna's parents. On their wedding day, Nkasi and her husband Mr. Ukwu were overjoyed. They were so happy for their son. They have been waiting for this moment, believing that their son Ikenna would now take on the responsibilities of a husband and that this would be a turning point in his life. So, as the weeks went by, Ikenna's behavior still did not change. He continued to rely on Soma after their wedding for everything, from making dinner to handling family matters, like choosing where they lived and other decisions about their family. Ikenna had nothing to contribute. This got Soma worried. Soma started to feel the pressure. She asked herself, why isn't Ikenna helping me? She watched Ikenna sleep all day and played games. She tried to be patient, thinking he would eventually step up. But what Soma didn't realize was that Ikenna had never learned how to be independent, and it was already too late to change things overnight. He was used to people doing everything for him. For Soma, she had big dreams of becoming a chef before she got married to Ikenna. She worked so hard every day at the hotel where she cooked, but at home, her dreams seemed to take a backseat. Ikenna was always there, expecting her to take care of everything. He would ask her to make all the decisions, buy groceries, cook the food, tidy their home, and do laundry, whilst he idled around the whole house. Soma had hoped that after their marriage, Ikenna would take on a more active role in their life together, but nothing changed. She realized that she was the one doing everything, running errands, cooking, cleaning, and even making decisions about their future as a couple. Ikenna never had a contribution to make whenever there was a situation, whether in her place of work or in their house, that needed him as a man of the house. So for Soma, it was a lot to handle, especially with her demanding job. But despite the growing frustration, Soma really loved Ikenna. Her mother-in-law, Mama Ikenna, showered her with lots of gifts, and whenever she complained to her about Ikenna's inadequacies, she would encourage her to bear with him. Don't worry, my daughter. You know, this is meant for you. You just have to give him some time. He would change, she would assure her. So Soma thought that maybe things would improve once Ikenna realized how much pressure she was under. So she tried to talk to him one evening after a tiring day. She said to Ikenna, please, Ikenna, I really need help, especially around the house, as you are not yet working, she said in a sad tone. You know how tiring and demanding my job is. But to her surprise, Ikenna brushed it off. He said to Soma, you are doing so fine, my dear. God bless you for me. You are really indeed a virtuous woman. God sent you to me to help me, so I really appreciate your efforts and I trust all your decisions. This made Soma more confused and frustrated. It seems Ikenna does not understand what I'm passing through, she thought to herself. Soma's exhaustion grew, and with it, her disappointment. She was no longer just his wife. She had become his caregiver. Her dreams of becoming a successful chef and building a strong future for them were slipping away, and she did not know how much longer she could keep up with Ikenna's lack of responsibility. This was not what she planned for her marriage. She had bigger dreams for their marriage. So as the months passed, the strain on Soma became unbearable. She worked long hours at the hotel, as she was the only chef they had in the hotel that made beautiful Italian and French dishes. There were never any contributions from Ikenna, whether it was with the housework or even basic decisions like paying bills or grocery shopping. Soma had to do everything. One evening, after a tiring shift at the hotel, Soma came home to find the house in disarray. The dishes were piled up, The floors needed sweeping, and Ikenna was just there sitting on the couch, playing video games as usual. Soma, who was boiling in anger, screamed at Ikenna, Ikenna, do you want me to die before you know that I really need help here? What kind of husband are you? I vividly remember that during our courtship, you promised that we would share responsibilities. Soma asked, her voice filled with frustration and pain. But to her amazement, when Ikenna looked up, he smiled. But Soma, he said, you are doing a great job here, and I'm sure you'll take care of it, he replied, completely unaware of the growing tension in Soma's heart. This has been her current reality since she got married. Soma had always tried to play cool, not letting Ikenna's lack of responsibility come in between their love, but this was becoming too much. Every time she asked for help, Ikenna's response was the same. He would smile and shrug it off, leaving her to shoulder all the burdens. But for Soma, deep down, she felt like she was carrying the weight of the world alone, and Ikenna's refusal to help her made her feel more isolated and resentful. She had hoped that marriage would bring them closer, but instead, it felt like she was in it alone. The frustration began to affect her health, and someone knew that something needed to change before it was too late. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, Summer had reached her breaking point. She sat Ikenna down inside their cozy bedroom, her heart heavy with months of bottled up feelings. Ikenna, I can't keep doing everything alone. You promised me that we would be a team, but right now, I feel like I'm carrying the whole load by myself. You need to help me, Ikenna, someone said, tears welling in her eyes. Ikenna was taken aback. He had never seen someone so sad and upset. Ikenna, are you not worried that we still do not have a child? You heard the advice of the doctor the other time we went to see them. They advised me to stop stressing. That stress was one of the reasons why I had that early miscarriage. And you don't look bothered at all. Ikenna had always thought Soma could handle everything on her own. But I trust you, he said, unbothered. Soma, you always do such a great job. Why should I get in the way? Ikenna replied, still not fully understanding the gravity of the situation. Soma took a deep breath. Well, Ikenna, I can see. Why is this so difficult for you to understand? Are we not supposed to be partners? A marriage isn't just about love. It's also about sharing responsibilities. You are my husband, and I need you to be here for me, not just emotionally, but practically. We need to make decisions together as a couple. I can't carry this all by myself. What is going to happen to us when we start having children? Soma continued with pain in her voice. Ikenna, though feeling guilty, still didn't know how to change. Growing up, he has always been shielded from responsibilities, and now that he was married, he didn't know how to step up. He thought all about Soma's concern and pleas, which left him feeling confused and uncertain. He didn't want to hurt Soma, but he had never been taught how to help. Soma's words lingered in his mind, and for the first time, he realized that something had to change. But how would he be able to change in time to save his marriage, as it was very clear that Soma was not happy with him? However, not long after their conversations, Soma became pregnant. Iken and Soma were so happy that they would soon become parents. But for Soma, she was concerned that Ikenna had no job. Ikenna, since their marriage, have always depended and run to his parents for financial help, even though she had made all efforts to make Ikenna realize how shameful and irresponsible it was for him to run to his parents for financial help. However, as months passed, some mass pregnancy came with its own struggles, and Ikenna could hardly help Soma. He could not cook or do any chore. Selma, seeing that her marriage was falling apart, made up her mind that Ikenna must learn to take up responsibilities. She feared for her children being raised by a man who was irresponsible. So she knew she had to tighten her seatbelt to make things right in her home. During her antenatal visit to the hospital, she made sure Ikenna went with her for antenatal and also made sure he paid the bill. During her early pregnancy, Soma came home handing Ikenna a letter. What? Ikenna exclaimed in surprise, with pain in his eyes. You have been relieved of your job? He asked. Well, that is it too. So you have to sit up, Ikenna. We have not even bought anything for our child. And you also have to save up for the hospital bill. Ikenna placed one of his hands on his head, looking frustrated and sighing deeply. He was never prepared for this day. Summer had always been in charge of everything. He sighed and shouted, Where am I going to start from? He asked, his voice filled with worry. Ikenna in frustration turned to Summer. So what do we do now? Summer, let me go and play with your employers now. Let them retain you. Summer's jaw dropped. She hissed, Please, Ikenna. I'm not going back to that hotel. You want me to suffer another miscarriage, Abi? If that is your plan, Ikenna, it's not going to work. You see, you have always failed to realize that you are the man of the house. You have to figure out how to take care of us. Oh." As she stretched on the sofa, looking unbothered, Ikenna looked at Soma in confusion. And for your information, Ikenna, I hope you are not running to your parents. Because I'm not going to take that. We are not going to continue to depend on your parents to take care of our children. Ikenna fell back on the sofa. He did not know where to start from. Thank you so much for watching this story until this time. I appreciate you all for your immense support for this channel. Please let's comment on the moral lessons we have learned from this story. Let's continue to discuss on the comment section. Also stay tuned to see how Soma and Ikenna were able to navigate their current realities. Also subscribe, give this story a thumbs up, and share with your loved ones and friends. See you soon. Stay blessed and bye.